Well, I got a lot done today. Well, I feel like I did. So yesterday we picked up a pressure washer, and all I had to do was clean the carburetor on that one. That was pretty easy, and it's up and running again. Of course, the fella adjusted a bunch of stuff, so I had to find all the adjustments to get them all back to where they needed to be. Of course, all this is going to be on my other channel eventually. I'm probably 10 videos ahead on my other channel. Got the weed eater running. Changed out a carburetor on that. Fires right up. The backpack blower, I'm waiting for the Permatex gasket I made to seal up a little bit. And so that should be dry tomorrow. We'll test that tomorrow. If that doesn't work, then I might have to order another part. I'm doing a little bit of an experiment, just trying to save some cost. But if it doesn't work, then we'll have to get the extra part. So yesterday was kind of an excitement day. For us, we don't drive much. We don't go do much. And so a few days ago, I told you that the lens cap just fell off. The red part, this is just a sticker. You can see that this here is still attached, but everything else around it just fell off. So we ordered another one of these off Amazon. It's just 2 screws, and the whole assembly comes out. This whole silver piece will come out, and you just put a new one in. So again, that should be here tomorrow. Amazon's saying it's supposed to be here today, but UPS is saying tomorrow. I'm going to interrupt this video real quick. I'm going to ask you if you can go over, at the end of the video, there'll be an up next box over on my shoulders. If you can click that and go over my other channel and watch those videos, I really would appreciate it. We're so close to getting enough watch time. It's just, just itching to get there. I'd really appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody who's already done it. So thank you very much. So then we went to town yesterday. First of all, we dropped off a lawnmower, and we took a route that we normally, we only taken it one at a time. That was to pick up the lawnmower. So we was on this road, and the truck acted funny on one of the hills, just one hill. It shifted, downshifted to get up the hill. We had a little bit of extra weight in the back. And then it downshifted like 2 gears, and we went up to 4,000 RPMs, and it was just really weird. So I let go of the accelerator so it would drop down, go up a gear. I thought that was 4,000 RPMs. It was a little high for me. So it kicked back into gear, and I didn't think anything of it. Went and delivered the lawnmower, and then we started to head off to Walmart, and everything was fine. I didn't notice anything wrong with the truck. It was doing great. And we got into town. We're starting to get into the stoplights into town, and we get a check engine light with a display. It displayed and said loss of power. Engine's got loss of power, something like that. And of course, Carolyn's very concerned. And I'm thinking this is kind of weird. I mean, it was just a check engine light. Now, what does the loss of power mean? Could be a bunch of things. It could just be a warning to let you know that the check engine light came on. I don't know. So you can get it off the screen. I got it off the screen. I just hit the menu button or the reset button, and it went off the screen. But of course, we're concerned about it. So we get into Walmart, and I think, hey, we're over in the automotive section anyways. Let's look for a code reader. And Walmart didn't have one on the shelf, even though we looked on Amazon or on Walmart.com, and it said it had one, but they didn't have one. So we went over to AutoZone, which was right next door, and we got one for 35 bucks. And we got in the truck, and I started to plug it into, reading the instructions, and it says you got to download an app. So I tried to download the app, and it said my phone's not compatible. That just frustrates the heck out of me. My phone can't be that old. 2 years, 3 years old, I don't know. But why do you got to update your, you buy a new phone every, year or two? It just drives me nuts. I'm just not going to do it until something goes wrong with it. I'll just deal with it. So I've tried to update the software, the whatever you want to call it. Anyway, and it won't update. So I don't know. So we tried to return it to Amazon, or excuse me, AutoZone. And the boss says, well, we usually don't take those because people just go out to their car, plug it in, say what's wrong with their car, and go bring it back. I said, that's not what happened to me. The stickers are still on it. I was reading the instructions, and I couldn't download the app. He says, well, we'll do it this one time. I have always in my entire life had trouble returning things, except for Amazon. Amazon's pretty easy, but every time I go to Walmart to return, I think I've tried to return something 3 times in my life at Walmart, and they wouldn't take it. I remember one time I got a Christmas gift, a bunch of pants. There was a bunch of pants, and the receipt and everything was in there, and they wouldn't take it. I was probably 16 or 17 then. So anyway, the guy who was helping me, who sold it to me and then returned it, was very nice, and he says, just go over to the farm supply store. They got one. I don't even think you need software for that one. So I went over there, and yeah, we picked one up and plugged right in. Don't need an app. Only thing you need to do is just Google what the code is, and not only do you get what the code is, what is wrong with it, you'll get a list of YouTube videos telling you exactly how to fix it or whatever. So I plugged it in. We got the code. I looked it up, and it says that the variable valve timing solenoid is one of the possible problems. It could be also an oil pressure sensor that is bad, which I don't think I have an oil pressure sensor, because we can read the oil pressure on the truck. Just, go through the little menus, and we were in spec, so I don't think we have an oil pressure problem. But regardless, that was one of the issues. Another issue is you could have a bad oil pump. That's probably the most serious thing, because I guess, I'll have to drop the oil pan. I don't know if I got to lift the engine up for that or not. That's a pretty serious one. And then it could be the wire and harness. It could be old oil, but I just did an oil change about 2 months ago, and then they said they could have the wrong oil or the wrong oil filter. But then it said on the screen, as they were saying that in the video, that if that were to happen, that would have came up automatically, almost instantly. As soon as you turned the truck on, it would have said that we had a problem. So we got home, and I started looking up prices of everything. The variable valve timing is $28. So it's not even hard to get to. You take this cover off right here, one bolt here, it pops up, and then right underneath here is a solenoid that goes into the engine. There's one here and one on the other side over here. This is, I guess, one's the exhaust and one's the intake. And so for 28 bucks you get both of them. One's got a black tip and the other one's got a white tip on it. And it's a 10 millimeter. You take the 10 millimeter out, you pop out the solenoid, you put the new one in. Well, of course you got to unplug it. There's a plug. You can almost see it probably from right here, but anyway. You also got to take the oil cap off and the dipstick in order to get this shroud off. But again, not a big deal. So for $28, I got the 2 solenoids. But then I got to thinking, well, I'm just assuming it's the solenoid, which makes sense because the way it reacted. It reacted funny when we were going up that hill. And I forgot to mention, when we were turning around to go back to AutoZone, because we just left the Walmart parking lot and we passed up AutoZone, I said we should go get a reader over at AutoZone. So we had to turn around. So went down the hill. It's a highway. It's a 4-lane highway. Well, not a highway, but it's 4 lanes within a city. So you got to accelerate, and it was up a hill. So when we got turned around, I tried to accelerate again, and the truck did that funny thing again, and it accelerated really high, or the RPM's really high, and it dropped really low in a gear. And so I let go of the gas. It got into the correct gear. So this is what's making me think it's the variable valve timing. What it is oil pressure. Oil actually is used to give you the correct valve movement. Kind of makes sense. When we talk about the Beast here, the Beast has overhead valves, and it has hydraulic valve adjustments, which means it automatically adjusts the valves. If you've watched my other channel, you'll see me adjusting valves all the time on Briggs & Stratton and Honda engines. But this Kohler has hydraulics. So if you lost oil pressure, you would also lose your adjustment on your valves. So when you look at this solenoid, it has a screen on it, which clue me in that it's, you know, probably clogged up. And so the last thing that I decided to do is you can reset your code on this. So I reset it to drive home, and it didn't code again. The check engine light didn't come back on. And we've drove it around to pick up that pressure washer, and it still hasn't come back on. So it's telling me that that screen is probably not letting enough oil in when we are under a heavy load. You know, we had that lawnmower in the back, we were climbing a hill, and it just didn't have enough to adjust the valves correctly. And then the second time it did it, we were trying to accelerate on a hill. So again, we were under a heavy load. Just driving normally, which is what we normally do. I don't push this thing hardly at all. Driving normally, it doesn't trip. So that's why I'm thinking it's a solenoid. That being said, we went ahead and I looked for a pressure sensor, because that's the other thing that they say goes out quite frequently. So, and it was like 13 or 14 bucks. So I figure, what the heck? That's underneath the engine. I haven't located that yet, but when we get it, I'll put it out, you know, I'll jack everything up and I'll look for it. It's supposed to be next to the starter, so I don't think it's gonna be that hard. So that'll be a project that we'll work on this channel. Also, I got to put in that tail light. So, you know, a few projects we can do around here. So I don't like working on the truck. That's kind of funny. I like working on lawnmowers. I don't like working on the truck because there's just so much to it. You know, all the computer stuff, it just, I'm worried. I mean, I'll do it, of course. I'm worried that I don't understand the computer enough to make, well, for example, if I hadn't watched enough YouTube videos, when I changed the thermostat, I've changed thermostats on cars before, all my life. It's not hard. So, change the thermostat on this one. Well, this one's obviously a lot harder because it's on the side instead of on the top. And so you got to take the tire off and you're wiggling around. But anyway, you get it off. But on old cars, that was it. Once you had the thermostat changed, it was done. But with this one, you have to reset the computer. And so you have to get on YouTube to figure out how to reset the computer. You got to disconnect the batteries. You're supposed to hook up a wire between the positive cable and the negative cable and let it sit there for 30 seconds and then let it discharge, you know, any capacitors or anything I guess it's got in there. Well, when I did that, I didn't realize I was resetting everything. This was a mistake I made, which might be why I'm having problems with these solenoids. So I changed the oil on the truck when the percentage, you know, there's a percentage reader on it, tells you when to change the oil. When it gets down to about 5%, I change it faithfully. But when I reset that computer, when I changed the thermostat, it didn't occur to me that it also reset the percentage thing. So let's say it was at 50%, and so I reset it to 100%, not even realizing I did it. So I think I ran the oil a lot longer than I should have, like, you know, 150%. I'm sure it didn't hurt it, but if there was any extra dirt in there, it might have clogged up that solenoid screen a little bit. And now that I am putting it under a load, it's well, the thing is I checked the oil and it looks absolutely clean. I changed the oil in December, and it's only got, it's down to 64% now. Before I need to change it, you know, I still have 64% to go. So I don't think it's dirty oil. I know I got the right oil. I know I got the right oil filter. So so it's just something to concern ourselves. And you know, Carolyn and I are so used to being poor that a situation like this in our past would have just been devastating. You know, having to take it to a mechanic or replace the car. But I looked up how much it would cost to take this problem to the mechanic, and it would cost 500 bucks. So I was talking to Carolyn. I said, well, you know, nowadays we wouldn't want to do it, but we could do it. It's not that big of a deal. And she said, you know, nowadays, even if we really didn't want to do it, we could, you know, 2,000, whatever. We don't have to worry, but it's just in our instincts to worry. We're just supposed to worry. because we've always been so poor. So, but I'll see if I can fix this. It doesn't look too hard. Lots of videos on YouTube on it. So we'll get that fixed and running in a few days when I get the parts. And guess what? I'm going to buy aftermarket parts, or I did buy aftermarket parts. I know, you're not supposed to do that. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video on my other channel. Really appreciate it if you go check it out. We're really close to getting enough watch time. So I hope I can inspire you to get the courage to work on something today. Sing and live your dreams. Thanks for watching.